Who is the NBA's most despised player? LeBron James and Joel Embiid are currently the first names that come to mind. You most certainly fulfill one of these characteristics if you're a disliked player. You most likely are really good at what you do. You may have gone too far with your trash talk, or worse, you may have escalated or participated in a fight. You will always get a reaction if you bring attention to yourself. In athletics, there have always been adversaries. A fan's hatred can range from Isaiah Thomas of the Chicago Bulls to Larry Bird of the Los Angeles Lakers. In either case, hatred may run deep within a fan base, and people who have no qualms about expressing their feelings during games are right there. As we approach the end of the 2022 season, these players are the most despised by the fan bases of each organization. Let's jump right into it. Starting off, the Charlotte Hornets despise LeBron James. When Michael Jordan owns the team, it doesn't help. The continuous comparisons of James to Jordan must be tiring, which is why some feel James despises Jordan. Because Jaden doesn't like Jordan, the feeling is returned in kind. In addition, every time James plays against the Hornets, he destroys them. He appears to have no mercy for only a few teams, and the Hornets are one of them. Up next, we have Grayson Allen, and he is despised by the Chicago Bulls. The most despised man in Chicago used to be LeBron James, who was always denying his club a chance to reach the NBA Finals. Then, when the Bucks and Bulls played a regular season game this year, Grayson Allen told James to hold his beer and fouled Alex Caruso unnecessarily hard. Caruso had a broken wrist as a result of the foul, which required 2 months of recuperation time. The Bucks will need to employ protection for Allen the next time these two meet. Up next, we have Draymond Green being hated by the Cleveland Cavaliers. The All-Star game perfectly reflected the Cavaliers' feelings toward Draymond Green. While Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and KD were the key drivers of the Warriors' 3-1 finals record over 4 seasons, it was Green who had the hard-nosed, muscular, and open-voiced player that irritated some fans and players. He was booed as a result of this. When you beat the Cavaliers 3 times in the NBA Finals, you're not going to get much love in the city. Up next, we have Marcus Morris being despised by the Dallas Mavericks. In back-to-back playoff games, the Mavericks were defeated by the Clippers. That concludes part 1 of this series. Morris and Luka Doncic engaged into a furious brawl in the first quarter of Game 6 in 2020. Morris committed a strong foul, knocking Doncic onto the ground and forcing him to be restrained. Morris, who previously stated that the Clippers always beat the Mavericks, has not forgotten. The feud is still very much alive today. Up next, we have Markieff Morris being despised by the Denver Nuggets. Our emotions can get the best of us at times. Markieff Morris, a tougher and more physical player in the league, fouled Jokic with a vicious shoulder hit. With less than 3 minutes remaining in the game, Denver led 111-94. Jokic's retaliation was excessive, but Denver fans defending their MVP will point out that Morris should not have fouled him at this juncture in the game. Up next, we have Embiid being despised by the Pistons. While Andre Drummond was a member of the Pistons, he's a former All-Star that had a significant feud. Drummond got ejected from a game once for trash yelling, and he was called for a technical foul after Embiid flopped hard. As Drummond was removed from the close game, Embiid stood up and mocked the crowd. Up next, we have LeBron James being despised by the Warriors. This is primarily due to the rivalry that arose between the Warriors and the Cavs from 2015 to 2018. During this time period, the two clubs competed in the NBA Finals each season. The real heartbreak for Golden State came in 2016 when LeBron James brought the Cavaliers back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals to win the championship. The same season, the Warriors established the NBA record for wins in a season with 73. Up next, we have Steph Curry being hated by the Houston Rockets. The Rockets experienced some of their most successful seasons since the days of Hakeem Olajuwon from 2015 to 2019. James Harden tried to lead the squad to the NBA Finals and came close 3 different times but fell short to Steph Curry. The Warriors defeated the Rockets in the conference finals both in 2015 and in 2018. Curry still annihilates the Rockets and reminds them of how awesome he is. Up next, we have LeBron James being hated by the Pacers. When he was with Miami, LeBron was widely despised, but no one despised him more than the people in Indiana. In the conference finals in 2013 and 2014, James guided the Heat to victories against the Pacers. Then he joined the Cavaliers, where he dominated the Pacers for the next 4 years. Overall, the path to the finals was paved by James, who never let Indy pass. LeBron James warned referees a few months ago that Pacers fans should be ejected for making inappropriate gestures and speaking inappropriate comments. Up next, we have Luka Doncic being hated by the Los Angeles Clippers. Doncic appears to get better every time he plays the Clippers. He just set a career record with 51 points against the team. The two teams have played each other in the playoffs, and the Clippers have defeated the Mavericks both times, but Doncic keeps the Mavericks in the game. Doncic has a target on his back when the Clippers are on the schedule because he's both talented and animated. Up next, we have Isaiah Stewart with the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James and Stewart were next to each other when lining up at the free throw line. On the miss, James elbowed Stewart in the face, knocking him to the ground. Stewart confronted James, sparking a big brawl. Fans in Los Angeles will fight for their favorite celebrity. Up next, we have Andre Iguodala being hated by the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies acquired Iguodala in a deal a few years back, but he was under the notion that he would be sold or bought out. The Grizzlies were thought to be a rebuilding team, and Iguodala didn't want to be part of it at this point in his career. He was eventually traded to the Heat, but not before players criticized his decision to prioritize his career over the team's. Up next, we have Nikola Jokic being hated by the Miami Heat. Markieff Morris's harsh foul was definitely needless, but Jokic's blindside shove was utterly uncalled for. It had the potential to gravely hurt Morris, and it was an act of pure brute power. The dispute became more heated, and Jokic's family became involved. Overall, don't expect the Heat to welcome Jokic back for the remainder of his career. Up next, we have James Harden being despised by the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo was named MVP at the end of the 2018 season. One player in the league who was displeased with this judgment was James Harden. He believes he put up the legendary numbers and deserved to be named MVP. Given Giannis' popularity in Milwaukee, it's hardly a surprise that everyone turned to Harden when he said these things. Up next, we have Jimmy Butler being hated by the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves acquired Jimmy Butler from the Bulls because they thought he would complement Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns as well. He was done with the organization after one postseason appearance, demanded a trade, and held a heated practice in which he informed the players that he couldn't win without them. He was then moved to the 76ers, who have been scrambling to reassemble the puzzle. Up next, we have the New Orleans Pelicans hating Anthony Davis. Davis was the franchise's first-round pick in 2012. He was intended to be the player that the squad would build around in order to compete. Instead, the club only made it to the second round once, and Davis grew bored of squandering his peak with seasons with little to show for in the playoffs. He demanded a trade, was sent to the Lakers, and won a championship in his rookie season. Fans in NOLA will have a difficult time embracing him when he returns due to jealousy and heartbreak. Up next, we have Trae Young being hated by the Knicks. Young wasn't always despised by the Knicks. It all began after the season. The two teams played each other in the first round of the playoffs. Young scored the game-winning shot in Game 1 and put his finger to his mouth to silence the fans. It was just one of numerous pranks that irritated Madison Square Garden spectators. He topped it all off by defeating the Knicks and guiding the Hawks to a conference final. Up next, we have Patrick Beverley being hated by the Thunder. Russell Westbrook was everything to the Thunder when Kevin Durant left. When an opposing player appears to be attempting to damage him, everyone is ready to throw everything at him. Westbrook and Beverley's animosity dates back a long time in terms of trash talk, but it appears that he went for Westbrook's knees on 2 instances. One of those instances resulted in Westbrook missing game time due to an injury. Up next, we have Dwight Howard being hated by the Magic. Howard hasn't played for the Orlando Magic in nearly a decade, the team that he had led to the NBA Finals in 2009. During his prime in Orlando, Howard was the game's best center, but he became bored of falling short and moving to Los Angeles. Magic fans have not forgotten how he forced his way out and still booed him when he stepped onto the court. Up next, we have Ben Simmons being hated by the 76ers. This was as straightforward as it gets. Simmons declined to play for the squad, resulting in financial loss for a player who's contributing. This puts a strain on the team, the players, and the fans. Despite his assertions about his mental health, many fans are dissatisfied with the way Simmons has handled this situation. Fans were not angry when Simmons was eventually traded. Up next, we have Patrick Beverley of the Phoenix Suns. Outside of the NBA Finals, the Western Conference Finals are the most intense. The Clippers are fighting for their lives against the Phoenix Suns without Kawhi Leonard. Patrick Beverley is already a fervent slanderer. When Chris Paul appeared to flop, he had to imitate it, which drew the ire of many fans who have despised him ever since, especially when Paul remained lying down on the court. Up next, we have Russell Westbrook not being liked by the Portland Trail Blazers. When two stars go head-to-head, it makes exciting basketball. Trash talk comes with that kind of play. When you see a player pursuing your star, you have to defend him, right? That's how Portland's fans' animosity for Westbrook might be classified. Well, guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.